Hi, I'm John Moore here at JHM Technologies, and we're going to talk about the recirculation feature of the infuser PRG. To go into the recirculation mode, in the lower left corner, you press the recirculate button. Now that pulls up the recirculate page. First thing that we concern ourselves with is the pump speed, the speed in which the pump will reciprocate during the recirculation mode. Currently, we would set it at 2. Normally, it's not faster than 2 liters a minute. That's plenty fast enough for recirculation in most all cases. Going faster is only going to tend to wear the system out. Automatic recirculation. Next box down. Off time, on time. So we first then see a box and then minutes, and then next to the on time we have a box and minutes. So what we're saying is off time is the interval of time between the last injection. Let's say we stopped injecting, we're all done, we set the equipment aside, that's when the timer begins. Or we've recirculated and stopped, manually as it were, or automatically. In that case, then the machine will begin the timer again. So it's when the pump was last used. So in this case, we've got a value set for off time and then a value set for on time. So what that means is so many minutes off is an interval. Now if we inject again before that timer times out, let's just say we had 10 minutes in there or 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. Whatever that time is, if we interrupt that timer by making an action in the pump movement, then the timer begins again after it stops. So it's not going to automatically start recirculating if we're in the middle of an injection. It's a point to be made. Then it's the on time. So let's say we had a value for time of interval that we've discussed. And then how long do we want it to actually recirculate? Why do we even want it to recirculate, you might ask? Well, you have a couple factors. First off, we have the resin heater. Only comes on during the time that the pump is actually moving. So one of the features of recirculation is to give us the opportunity to preheat the resin. So there isn't such a delay waiting for that injection to actually begin entering the mold, the resin as it were. So we'll put a few minutes in there for on time, maybe as small as 3, but it could be greater than that. So we have our interval of off, and then we have our interval of on time. Now, next to it, we have a button disabled or enabled. Well, really, then all this means is if it's enabled, when that is illuminated, which is the box right next to the minute values, then that's when this action occurs that I've described. So many minutes off, so many minutes on, because we've enabled the automatic recirculation. If that's disabled, it makes no difference what we have in those boxes because we've disabled the feature of automatic recirculation. The only way we would begin to recirculate it is disabled is we have to come over and hit the start button. And it would just continue to recirculate, in other words, resin from the main tank, through the heater, through the resin pump, up to the mix head, and back would all happen for as long as we've pressed the start button and released it. It would continue until we hit the stop button. Now, catalyst move is the lower left-hand corner. That is the percentage that we have the catalyst pump set on the slave arm. And you would normally have that set over 1%, 1.5%, be commonplace. You just need that catalyst moving at a rate great enough to keep the catalyst. Any air that happens to occur, there's some of the catalysts tend to gas in the hose and such. So it's a good idea to prime up and make sure that our catalyst line is recirculating, which is why on the infuser PRG we recirculate both resin and catalyst. Now, we have a catalyst monitor page. This feature is unbelievably valuable when it comes to troubleshooting or to put some preventative measures in place. So what are we talking about? Catalyst monitor. Now let me go back. That was the button in the lower bottom center. It says catalyst monitor. If I press that button, we get the catalyst monitor page. The first thing it's going to show me is the catalyst pressure in real time, what it is right now in the catalyst line in bar. Below that, we've got catalyst under pressure, catalyst over pressure. What these are the values that will allow the catalyst system to operate at. In other words, catalyst under pressure we set at 3. To say then, if we begin in recirculation or in injection, and the system ever senses catalyst pressure below as it's set right now at 3, it's going to stop, error out, and tell us that we've got an under-catalyzed situation. In other words, the catalyst pump is having a service issue, or we're out of catalyst. But one way or another, we're dropped below our minimum catalyst pressure setting. This feature will save many times the value of itself. It's unbelievable how well this feature functions for us. The next is catalyst overpressure. Let's say we had something blocked in the catalyst system. Well, yes, it has an emergency bypass, and that's the line that's going back to the tank that's coming out of the outlet of the catalyst pump in the clear line. But we aren't relying on that safety fuse, as it were. We want to sense that something's wrong. The catalyst pressure is much too high, and so the system says, there's something wrong here. You need to stop and look at the catalyst system. Could be a gelled up mix head. Could be someone parked the fork truck on the hoses. Whatever the reason, it's going to identify there's a problem in the catalyst system. Now, these values on the right-hand side, catalyst actual minimum, catalyst actual maximum, these are the historical values that it's seen. In fact, we use these values to give us a sense about where to set our limits low and high. So those values all interplay to give us some insight to what's going on. The other value is that injection pressure and bar I mentioned upper right-hand corner. We'll use that. Someone calls and says, I'm having a problem. I think it's in my catalyst system. Well, it could be the catalyst. It could be the resin. It could be there is something wrong with the equipment, catalyst lie. It could be the chemistry, could be mold temperature. But what we'll use is this tool right here over the phone, and we can diagnose whether there is a problem with the catalyst pump in the upstroke, the downstroke, or if at all, and help that maintenance person be able to diagnose immediately what's going on. Very important feature. Okay, so down in the lower center, it says reset min-max values. All that does is erase the history in those min-max on the right-hand side, sets them to the beginning set points, and we then run the machine again, and we can adjust accordingly our values if we need to. Now, there's also an I/O monitor. Now, this is mainly for a maintenance person trying to understand, is an output occurring or an input occurring? Very rarely would anyone ever need to be looking at an I/O screen, but we give it to you in plain view right on the display panel, and this prevents having to take the equipment apart, checking out to see if connections are making or not. PLC are extremely reliable and efficient. But also, though, if you have a problem and you're not sure whether there is a connection or something not being made, sure helps to have a screen that you can pull up that fast and be able to look in real time to see what you have. So that's what the I/O screen will do for you. But again, that's not something your average operator would ever be into, or even generally a molding supervisor. That's a maintenance person's tool that really speeds up any diagnostics. All right, so to get out of the recirculation page, lower right-hand corner, hit Main Menu, and that takes us back to the main menu. That's the overview of recirculation.